Well, well, well. If it isn't the NPL, that league that for so long I was standing in the shadow of, just a mere analyst talking about these big names like Gypsy King, Matty Brolick, and Rizzy Powell? Is he still in the NPL? Rizzy Powell? Okay, yeah, cool. Regardless, for too long I sat by watching others take what was rightfully mine. But then an opportunity arose, the Minors Tournament. Not only did I finish with the best record of any coach, if it wasn't for Monotui and Hacks, I would have gone clean sweep through the entire competition. But I had to grind and work my ass off. And those will say, well, if David didn't miss his sleep powder, you wouldn't be here. Well, guess what? David missed his sleep powder. So you are looking at one of the 16 competitors in NPL Season 7. And the Tampa Bay Frogadiers are here to stay. We aren't going down anytime to anyone. We are eternal. And as your undisputed poker tubing heavyweight champion, I will prove that Gypsy King is not the only good Australian battler. That Better Jack isn't the second best. The fact of the matter, they're good. Travesty's good. Abe does not count because he is British. I am the best Australian battler. No, not just the best Australian battler. No. I am the best battler in the world. And soon, ladies and gentlemen, you will see the glorious team that I have drafted. My magnificent Mons are going to take this competition by storm, and soon you will be talking about the champ called the Bird. If you smell what the Bird is, barbecuing.
G'day jabronis, it is the Verd here, and of course I am your coach of the Tampa Bay Frogadiers for Season 7 of the National Pokeball League Majors. Now, this is still freaking surreal to me, guys, that I am a part of this season. For those of you who don't know, my NPL journey started back in Season 5 when I was selected to be one of the main analysts. I was part of the Power Rankings crew back then, working with people like, Call Me 911 and Parker, who obviously I'm a really good friend with now, who's currently still in Majors. Sorry, no, it's not Majors, Minors. Starting there, I did 2 seasons of analyst work, both times having a very integral role during the power ranking, and from that, befriended a lot of the guys part of the NPL community. And earlier this year, I was given the opportunity to compete in the Minors tournament. And obviously, if you guys follow my channel, you would know I made it by the skin of my teeth. Unfortunately, the only game I lost for the entire season was on a 6.5% crit chance from Monotui. That unfortunately forced us to go into a do or die situation against David and FC Poplio, and we did get a bit lucky in that game, and we did end up making it to Majors. So I'm not going to say we got here because of luck, because if it wasn't for luck, we would have made it regardless. We had a 93.5% chance of making it to Majors, so regardless of what happened, the chips fell where they may, and we have found ourselves some Majors. And so it's up to me now to make the most of this opportunity and to move forward and to just keep on, being the strong force that I know the Tampa Bay Frogadiers are. Lately my drafting has struggled a little bit. Drafting wise, my teams haven't been as good maybe as I wanted to, maybe because I've been trying to test a lot of different things. But when it comes to the NPO, I always seem to just stick to my guns, stick to formulas and ideas that I know will work for me and my playstyle. And I feel like this draft again is another one of those drafts where it just fits my play. So you will see it is a little bit top heavy, but I do have my justifications for all of this, and every mon I am going to talk about and justify my selection of and kind of break it down for you. This is going to be a bit more of an in-depth draft analysis than what I would normally give for other leagues. This is because mainly, and no like offense to the leagues that I'm a part of, I do take this league highly seriously. Like obviously I'm here to have fun at the same time. Everybody knows I'm here to have fun, but when it comes to the analysis side of things, I take it incredibly seriously because this is really big for me. To go from basically a few years ago not really being that big in the Pokemon scene to now being a part of what I like to believe is the most competitive league in the world when it comes to battling. I think it is tougher than for its format. I think it's tougher than the GBA and the UCL. UCL is kind of cute, but it's alright. The GBA I think is very, very good, but I feel the caliber of battlers here is higher than there, even though we don't have the subscribers. Pew pew. Anyway, so let's actually get into the team because I don't want to ramble on too much. This is going to be a bit of a longer draft recap, like I said, because I am going to go into depth. But I think it's also something that you guys seem to enjoy when I go into depth about this stuff, and especially my team builders this season, you'll be seeing that as well, me trying to go in depth and explain, because I do have a lot of conference matches this season, but luckily, unlike other leagues that I've been a part of, I only play certain people once, like it happened with NPL Minors, so I'll be able to do a lot more in-depth talk of my teams, since I won't be playing these people again until potentially playoffs, so really looking forward to that. But it has been 4 minutes, you've all been incredibly patient. Shall we roll on with our picks? So first and foremost, as you can see, the first pick that I took for this draft for this season, it's been there the entire time I've been doing this recording, just because you guys know, like, I haven't actually used Zygarde 50% in format before, but I have seen it through the time that it's been available, especially in the Sun and Moon format, and it has been an absolute juggernaut of a Pokemon. I think I was having a chat with Gypsy about it because his first round pick was Lando T, and I said to him, like, these are easily the two best ground types currently in the format. Like, Drill has dropped off the radar a lot. I think there's a few others that are quite good, like obviously my girl Nido Queen, she's great, but I think, you know, Zygarde is just really strong because 1000 Arrows is such a dynamic move for it to have. For those of you who don't know, like, 1000 Arrows is a move where basically it's a base 90 power ground move. However, it can hit flying type Pokemon and also works like Smackdown, which means you can hit a Skarmory and then the next turn your 1000 Arrows is going to be super effective against it. Same goes for Zapdos, same goes for the Thunderous forms. It is a really, really strong move because it means realistically Zygarde only has like one check, and that is a bulky grass type Pokemon, and even then Zygarde actually has the bulk to be able to deal with it, and actually with a lot of grass types can put in a lot of work against them. Zygarde does get access to a move called 1000 Waves, which is the other kind of 1000 move that it gets, and 1000 Waves again base 90, but it works kind of like Fire Spit. It will trap the Pokemon in, but it's worse than Fire Spit because basically it's almost like Mean Look almost. So it's base 90 move with Mean Look, traps that Pokemon in, and then you can just do some absolute shenanigans from there to wear down the bulky grass types. Zygarde has a lot of versatility. Obviously having E-Speed is fantastic. Its move pool is a little bit shallow, but I think also, like, people have been saying it's very shallow, and so, you know, why would you have it selected as your Z-Move mod? And I did actually choose on this team to have Zygarde as my Z-Move mod. When I get to the end of the video, I'll kind of explain why I did that, but for now, I feel very confident with Zygarde. It is just an overall fantastic Pokemon, and I sniped a lot of people taking it, so I'm very happy with that. Like, the issue with drafting as well, I'm normally quite a nice guy, so if I know that somebody wants a certain Pokemon, I try and be courteous and let them have it and try and work my ways around that. Like, my initial plan was Scolipede, Xurkitree, and Hooper Unbound, because I thought that sounded like delightful. But then that kind of fell through because I knew people wanted Scully, I knew people wanted Hooper Unbound, as you'll see from other drafts, so decided to be respectful of that and just kind of move on. But we are going to move on to my next pick. So this is a call that I've seen a lot of people using, but whether it be with Zygarde 10% or 50%, and it's a call that obviously I know is very good. And with me, when it comes to taking a league seriously, I need to go with calls that I know function really well together, and that's why I picked up with my second pick, Tapu Bulu. So Bulu is just an incredibly good mon in format. I think of the 4 Tapus, if you discount Lele because of how broken it is, I would say, so out of the 3 viable Tapus. I say Bulu is probably second to Coco. I'd say it's probably second to Coco. I think it's better than Finny. Like, Finny's great and all, but I think Finny is probably the most underwhelming. Bulu, I think, just for its sheer offensive prowess, it hits harder than both of the other two, especially in its terrain. Like, Woodhammer does so much damage, and with the terrain, it also really helps out with Zygarde, because other ground type moves, like Earthquake, Bulldoze, all that, they get weakened by the grassy terrain. However, Zygarde won't be using those moves. It has its 1,000 arrows and its 1,000 waves, which, well, not really 1,000, but more 1,000 arrows bypasses grassy terrain, which means Zygarde's moves won't get weakened, and that's really solid pairing then, because grassy terrain also gives my team recovery, and it's just a fantastic support mon. Bulu, obviously getting access to Leech Seed is great. Toxic, Bulk Up, Swords Dance, so many attacking moves. People were like, why didn't you choose this as your Z captain? And I guess for me, it was more, I felt that, you know, Bulu was a little bit too slow for a Z move. The only times I'd see it being really useful is like if I went like for a sub, predicting a mon to come in, then went for a Z move on the mon that I wanted to get rid of. That could be kind of cute, but other than that, I felt it wasn't really that necessary. I think Bulu, you know, can run lefties, Kebia Berry, Banded, Scarfed, just so many options for it that I didn't feel it needed to have the Z move either. I felt there were other mons more deserving, hence why I chose Zygarde, but we'll get more into that afterwards. Gonna move on to my next pick now, and a few of these picks are gonna be a bit surprising, like kind of the order they were taken. You might be thinking like, a few of these picks should have been taken higher than they were, but my basic plan when I draft, and especially when I'm taking it very seriously, and people know this a lot, is my plan is to just build a very solid core foundation for my team, and then if I see some very strong Pokemon that haven't been picked up yet that I think, like, you know, these could be really nice for my team, I chuck them in and then kind of fill everything else out. So this is kind of how it went again. And with my third pick overall, I actually took Arcanine. So maybe a bit of an odd third round pick, but in this format, it has become a very, very popular choice. It's a really solid pairing with Bulu, because a lot of the things that can hurt Bulu, Arcanine can deal with, and vice versa. Arcanine now is not as fearful of ground types because Bulu's grassy terrain. Now, obviously, it's a bit of a long shot saying I'm always going to have grassy terrain up, but that presence, that knowing that potentially grassy terrain is going to be up, will kind of put into the mindset of my opponents like, oh, well, maybe my ground type move isn't going to do as much, I got to switch it up, and then maybe it opens up doors for other mons. But Arcanine as well pairs really solidly with Zygarde. Obviously, Zygarde only having 3 weaknesses, being Dragon, Fairy, and Ice. 2 of those, obviously, Arcanine is able to deal with perfectly, so really good synergy there. Really good speed stat too. Like, Turfing Bull is a little bit slow, but both Zygarde and Arcanine having base 95 speed stats is really solid. It's not like super fast, but it's also not like that slow. It's a decent speed tier. Again, access to E-Speed is a fantastic priority for my team, which I really enjoy. Intimidate, which is a great defensive ability, and then Flash Fire, which is a great offensive ability. 2 really cool ways to use Arcanine, I feel. And it's honestly, as I was talking to my friend Deimos about it today, it's an incredibly versatile Pokemon in the format, because it can fill out so many different roles for your team. And I feel it's going to be one of my more versatile Pokemon this season. It may be, you know, especially defensive 1 week or banded the next, you don't know. And that's the beauty of Arcanine. You don't know what you're really going to be expecting, and that's just a really fun thing to have as a builder. Like, as people know, I enjoy my team building, so having a Pokemon that can be that versatile is just awesome. But on to the next pick that I did, and again, like I said, it was more just trying to get my cores sorted. So the first big core I wanted to get sorted was my Fire Water Grass. I know Fairy Dragon Steel has been getting a lot more popular, but especially when your grass type is Tapu Bulu and your fire type is Arcanine, that's a really solid start, and I wanted to finish it strong. And I felt like this mod again benefited from the grassy terrain, as well as just benefiting from the cores that I already had, and that was Tentacruel. So you might be wondering, Verd, nobody picked up Starmie in this draft. Why didn't you pick up Starmie in this round? Well, it's actually because in my initial draft plan, I was going to pick up something like Uxie or Mesprit, and I went to bed thinking, like, sure, I'm going to get one of those, it's going to be great. And I woke up the next day, and both of them have been sniped, and I was sitting there being like, well, shit, okay, this is a slight issue that we now have on our hands. So I had to kind of think on my feet about how I was going to finish off my draft. So at the time, I didn't think about Starmie because I was confident of getting Tentacruel plus one of them. Obviously it didn't turn out that way. Whether my draft is better or worse because of that is up to you to judge, but that is kind of why when you see my team you're like, why isn't there a star me? So Tentacruel was picked as well because kind of budget. I like the 11 points for it. I think, you know, it's a fantastic spinner, incredibly good bulk, and again, like, it pairs really nicely with things like the Arcanine, the Bulu, even Zygarde to an extent. Like Tentacruel and Zygarde again have a really good marriage together because Tentacruel does not appreciate electric moves, Zygarde can deal with those. Zygarde doesn't appreciate, like I said, the Ice and the Fairy, which Tentacruel can eat up pretty solidly, dealing with most Ice types, barring maybe potentially Weavile and definitely Mamoswine, but other than that, deals with most of them. But I felt also Tentacruel just finished off their Fire, Water, Grass core really solidly. Two mons outside, like the Grass type being able to support both of the Fire and the Water type. All of them having access to okay recovery. I'd say Tentacruel's okay because it does still have Black Sludge, which is really nice, and has access to Toxic Spikes, which is really good for my team too, and the spin obviously is the most important part. Arcanine doesn't appreciate rocks, none of my team appreciate hazards, so not only having a Pokemon that can come in and absorb T-Spikes and then spin, but also just having a Mon in general that's just really solid at dealing with a lot of my opponent's threats. I was pretty stoked with that, but this is the part where I was like, okay, I've got a really solid first four. Like, this core system looks really solid. I'm very, very happy with this. I want to kind of branch out now and say, right, if I see any really good Mon and it comes to me and I can take it, I'm taking it, because for the next 3 picks, these Mons were left around in rounds 5, 6, and 7, and I'm like, I'm scooping these. If you leave them here, I'm scooping these. So round 5, it was still there in round 5, which I couldn't believe, because this is probably my favorite Mega of all time. And I was super psyched to get it again. I've used it once before. I didn't use it to its best ability, but I've really enjoyed using it in the past, and that is Mega Pinsir. This thing is just an absolute beast. I don't really need to like go into too much detail, I don't think, but like I think it has base 155 attack off the top of my head, base 105 speed, access obviously to quick attack, fantastic priority, as well as SD, being able to blow through my opponents, or even bulk up, because then you can kind of counter mons that try and run like the cheeky rock slide to take you out, and you can be like, well, I'm going to bulk up, still get my attack boost enough to kill you, but then take your hit and then kill you in return. So it's like, you know, kind of cool like that. It has moves like knockoff. Obviously it does get Earthquake, so slightly hampered by Bulu, but at the same time it does get close combat, so I have avenues around that. And like I said, Bulu is not always going to be having grassy terrain up when Pinsir's in, so it's not always going to be like a hindrance to the other members of my team that want to be clicking moves like Earthquake. The big reason I liked Pinsir was because I had Tentacruel as a very reliable spinner, so I knew like rocks were never going to be too big of an issue like to hurt it. I also felt that like with the offense that I had, a lot of Mega Pinsir's big checks were kind of dealt with. Like, the biggest check, I guess, in Mega Pinsir is bulky steel types. And as you can see, I have a Zygarde and an Arcanine, like 2 Mons that just absolutely tear apart most of the bulky steels in format. So, having those kind of cleared. And then also, I guess, rock types to an extent. But then again, with the access to Earthquake and close combat, they're not as bad. But even so, again, I have Zygarde plus even Tentacruel in that regard, or even Bulu. So I have so many ways to deal with a lot of Mega Pinsir's threats that I felt that it was a Mon that I had to bring this week. It just does so much work against my this week, sorry. that was me just, that was bad third brain. It was a really important Mon for me to draft because it's one of my main cleaners in this team, because it can just rip through teams so easily, and it's either just an early wall breaker, just busting through like 3 or 4 Mons by itself, or late game if I get my other Mons weakening other things to the extent where I can just click like +2 quick attack and just sweep through everything, or just spam return late game because he doesn't have a Scarfer left. Mega Pinsir can do it all. I'm super psyched to have it on the team. But up next, I go with back-to-back Ultra Beasts here because they were left, and if anybody knows my Miners run, one of the best things that I did, or one of the types that I used the best, I think, was my Ultra Beast. I think I had Celesteela, Buzzwole and Xurkitree all in my team, and I used them all, I think, exceptionally well. And I feel these are 2 Ultra Beasts that I haven't really used before, and I'm very excited to see them used, because I've seen I've seen my close friend Aberforth use both of these once in MPL last season and in the CPC for the current season we're in. And we're going to talk about that one first, and that is Nihilego. So I went with Nihilego because although it was a secondary poison type with Tentacruel, I have kind of a plan for that, and the fact of the matter was, I feel that Nihilego and Tentacruel are very, very different. Nihilego is a bit faster and definitely a more aggressive Pokemon, whereas Tentacle could be a lot more defensive. Nihilego obviously is more accustomed to setting up the T-Spikes as well as the Stealth Rocks, whereas Tentacle is more designed for like the kind of defensive, kind of spin, do all those shenanigans. And Nihilego is just a fantastic offensive capability that I really want to talk about. So it has some fantastic coverage moves, and some really decent little techs that I've kind of looked at through its moveset and whatnot that I want to use in future weeks. I'm not going to obviously spoil them right now. Obviously you guys will see them in my team builders, but I think Nihilego is going to be a really solid mon for us this season. It's a really good speed set of 103, which will allow it to actually outspeed a few mons, which will be nice, especially things like Garchomp, who actually my first round opponent has, which is really cool. But also just being able to outspeed base 100s is really nice, because as you see, like with my team so far, my lowest speed stat is 95. So I'm really good at like holding down. And the cool thing as well with Nihilego, because it hits 103 and Mega Pinsir hits 105, even if my opponents creep for base 100, they're not going to be able to outspeed Nihilego and Mega Pinsir. So it's really nice having those kind of layered speed tiers to try and cover, to force my opponents to have to invest more in their speed, and it means that they're losing out a bit more on their bulk or their offensive potential, and that can then prove to be quite bad for them. So Nihilego, really solid choice again, very happy with it. Also, it does get a little bit of a boost from the grassy terrain again, but then again, if an opponent does click Earthquake, it's probably going to die anyway because its defense is doo-doo butter, but its Spadef is really nice, so I do want to capitalize on that Spadef at some point this season too. But on to the second Ultra Beast. Like I said, Abe used this last season in the MPL. It was a really solid mod. I think he used it alright, but I think I can use it better. And that monster is Kartana. Now, you might be thinking, but Verd, you have a Tapu Bulu. Why do you need another grass type? And then you realize, oh Verd, you just picked up Kartana with Tapu Bulu. Now, for those of you who don't know, not only does Kartana have a base 181 attack stat, but grassy terrain boosts the power of grass type moves, which means that if you get a Kartana in grassy terrain, it can do some work. For instance, just a random calc from potentially a week 1 match that's coming up. Banded Kartana at +1, jolly natured in grassy terrain, can 2-hit KO a fully defensive Tangrowth. That's a Tangrowth. Like, do you understand how stupid that is? That's a resisted move against a Tangrowth, and it is 2-hit KOing it. That is how much power Kartana has, and that is how much power you can expect from it this season. Its speed stat, again, 109, so it's not like 110, which is like the apparently Shangri-La of speed stats according to the token minorities, but again, it's another speed tier which is forcing my opponents to go higher with their boostage and gives me a really good chance of my other mons capitalizing. So that's great. Like I said, the base 181 freaking attack stat is stupid. It has amazing dual stab, being the Leaf Blade and the Smart Strike, as well as things like the Sacred Sword, Psycho Cut, X Scissor, just so many options. Obviously SD is great as well. It gets a really cool move as well that I kind of want to try out, called Laser Focus, which basically ensures that the next move you use will always crit. So that could be really nice for some situations. For instance, like if your opponent has a setup mon out against you and you can laser focus, then ensure the next move you go for will definitely crit, like a Curse Axe or something. That's cool. I like that. It's a very innovative kind of offense, and I think, you know, Kartana could be easily one of the MVPs this season because it can just absolutely whip through teams, especially with Beast Boost as well. After one Beast Boost, Kartana has almost 700 attack if it's ran Jolly. That is stupid. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. But we are going to move on to the next pick. Now, to break down, I guess, my last 4 picks that I have in this draft. Now, obviously you have to understand that I've just taken monsters, like, so far. I've taken some very, very good picks. So the next few picks had to be more budget. And the reason why I kind of went with this tactic, it's a little bit different how I went with my miners tactic, I suppose, was because of my miners tactic, I obviously knew that I wanted Mega Sceptile at the end, so I knew I had to keep the points around for it, whereas with this one, I didn't really know what I wanted at the end. I was kind of just more flustered by snipes at this point when it had happened. My initial plan actually before Kartana was to get Magnezone because I thought, hey, this could play really well with grassy terrain. Then I decided, no, there's still a Kartana, and Kartana and grassy terrain, like grass spam, especially since, like, the grass spam combo, the only two things that can really check it are bulky steels and bulky grass types, and I have Zygarde plus Mega Pinsir, so I don't really care about either one of those, so it just seemed to really sing to me. But these last few picks are very limited on their points, and I do kind of have plans for the future with them, but I still think for the budget they provide, they will be really solid members for my team, because they fill basically the few holes that I feel my team had. So, starting off with my round 8 pick, which was Rotom. Now, as you guys know, in the CPC, I was using Rotom, and I was really enjoying using Rotom in the CPC. Unfortunately, I had to lose Rotom because of the issue where I didn't upload on time, and so they actually removed a mon. Look, that's the way they want to do things, that's fine, I don't have any qualms with it, that's how they run their league. But luckily, I don't believe that'll be happening here in the NPL. I will be keeping my uploads, on the regular. It'll be all good, and keeping Rotom is important because Rotom is a really good Pokemon. Again, the amazing thing about this team so far, and yes, the last few mons are a bit, on the downside of this, but Rotom is above base 90 speed as well. So for my first 8 picks, I did not have a single Pokemon under base 90 speed. And Rotom, defensively, is still an incredibly solid one. Electric plus Ghost resists a lot of stuff. Also is a great spin blocker, so that supports the fact that I have Rocks and T-Spikes on Nihilego, and also T-Spikes on Tentacruel, so being able to support that is great. Obviously Volt Switch support, having the Stab Hex is so good. It's a base 130 stab move, guys. That's insane. It's doing a lot of damage to a lot of mons. I don't want to ramble on too much about Rotom, only because you've seen me use this already in the CPC, so you already know how good it's been for me. So I don't want to prattle on any more about it when you already know how damn good this mon is. But I'm super excited to use it again. I think Rotom is, for the 6 points that I got it for, heavily underrated as a mon, and I think it's going to be a really important member to the team again this season. But moving on to the round 9 pick, and we're going to go down to a couple of mons that I actually haven't used that much in draft format, and I guess it's a bit of a criminal sin because I feel like these are two Pokemon that I would really enjoy using. I think it's just been one of those things where either when it gets down to these rounds, they're normally not, they've been taken, they're not available, and that kind of sucks. But luckily for me, both of these guys are available, and I'm like, let's scoop them up. Why not? So for round 9, I actually picked up Umbreon. So Umbreon was a really cool mon that I was super keen to try out this season. It was quite cheap, I felt, for the role that it can do for my team. Its main role here is being a nice bulky Wish Passer, as well as being a really solid Dark type, so giving me a bit more of a Psychic check than just my Kartana, which obviously I wasn't a huge fan of. Just having Kartana as a Psychic check for sure. Luckily with Arcanine and Tentacruel on the team as well, it means that Kartana doesn't have to be that Fairy check with the Steel typing, so kind of covering all my facets with different mons. And Umbreon, like I said, is mainly there to deal with opposing Dark types, as well as the Psychic types, as well as being a fantastic Wish Passer for the team, a really good Cleric as well, but it also has some really other good capabilities. Obviously it can, Baton Pass, so I could go for things like Curse, or even Work Up, and Baton Pass them around, which is really cool. Obviously having access to Foul Play, Payback, and Counter I believe it gets, so a lot of really cool moves that Umbreon can use. It's mainly more used as a kind of bulky Cleric, kind of passing around to the rest of the team, supporting all that jazz. I don't see myself using it that offensively this season, but if the time does call for it, then I'm definitely going to use it that way, because I think it could be really utilized in that sense. But it is more just patching the fact that I had a very aggressive team, and chucking on a more defensive Pokemon seemed to be a lot more solid for me. But moving on to my second to last pick, and I decided to go with a mon that, again, haven't really used before, but I think it could be a lot of fun because of its versatility, and that is Smeargle. So I've seen other people use Smeargle. I'm obviously not the most accustomed to using it, but I think that there is so many options with Smeargle for a team that it's kind of hard to not pass up on. I think the best part about it too is for my opponents trying to build, they have to factor in that I have a Smeargle, this mon that, not a lot of people have really used that well before, or don't really know how to deal with, because, I could just lead and go for Spore and put someone to sleep, or I could, just go for all the hazards in the world, like Sticky Webs and Rocks, and then, just be a suicide lead, pressure the team with things like Rotom, not being able to let you spin, and then, have to deal with webs for the rest of the game. That could be really, really annoying. So, I think that's a really nice niche for Smeargle to have, because the thing is, I don't have to bring Smeargle every week for it to be a threat every week. And that's one of the big things about this team, is that I just have a team full of threats that are not all going to be there every week, but if you under prep for one of them, it's going to seriously bite you in the ass. And that's the beauty of this team. I think Smeagol just epitomizes that too, because for 5 points, incredibly budget, but it is just one of those mons where if you do not have the right preparation for it, it will tear you a new one, and I'm really happy about that. Now, on to the last pick. I didn't really need to pick this Pokemon. It was basically a situation where I knew that I had the points left over where I could actually drop Tentacruel, and add the points I had left over, I could pick up Starmie. But after talking with people about it, I can't actually do transactions until week 4, and even then there's a bit of a race. I think there's a few people that want to get Starmie, so I may not even get it. So what I decided was just saying, right, if there's the off chance I don't get Starmie, what I'd like is to just get a backup spinner to rotate with Tentacruel, get me some more rocks options as well, because it could just be a solid mon for me to bring just a nice little end to the team, and that was Claydol. Like, I know Claydol isn't the best one. I know a lot of people give it a hard time, but I think for the last slot in my team, it is actually not that bad. I think that, you know, for 3 points, Claydol can still do a lot. It is still a fantastic spinner. It is actually able to get up dual screens as well, which is a really good slot. For 3 points, being a Stealth Rocker as well, very much needed, because my Stealth Rock options right now are Nihilego, Mega Pinsir, Smeagol, and Claydol, and there's definitely one of those options that I won't have to use, so really important having Claydol in there. Again, like, I'm going to try and get Starmie when it comes around, but even if it doesn't, I feel like this team is still incredibly solid. I'm not really going to go into too much detail on Claydol, because it was literally just one of those picks where I was like, well, I have 3 points, might as well take it. It was just one of those things where I was like, yeah, whatever, just let's get it, it's fine, I don't really care. But that is the team, guys. That right there is a team, and I guess the last thing I want to discuss is this situation. Why, out of all the mons in my team, did I choose Zygarde? Because boy oh boy did I cop some flack for this in the draft recap. So I'm going to kind of break down why I chose Zygarde over other mons. So let's start with talking about the mons that they said I should choose and why I didn't choose them. So they said Tapu Bulu. Again, I kind of talked about this earlier, where I felt that Bulu already had enough versatility. They didn't really need the Z move to make it more of a threat. It could already do so much, so it was fine. Nihilego was the next one they mentioned, which, I mean, Nihilego is not bad, but I feel it does have a lot of coverage, which lets the Z move be nice, but other than that, I don't think it is the best choice. I feel Nihilego a lot of the time is either just running, you know, Specs, Scarf, Sash, you know, those kind of items. It doesn't really need the Z move on it to be good. And I guess the last big one of contention was Kartana. Like, Z Kartana made a lot of sense because, you know, you could just SDR, blow through any wall that your opponent had, and, you know, Kartana's amazing, yada yada yada. And it was really down to, did I want Z Kartana or Z Zygarde? And the big thing I looked at with my team was, at the end of the day, which one of these two mons do I see myself setting up with more? Do I see myself setting up more with Zygarde or with Kartana? And at the end of the day, I said Zygarde, because it's a lot easier to click Dragon Dance with Zygarde and be this big threat that is harder to revenge than I feel being an SD Kartana, which sure can be a big threat, but it's a lot easier for your opponent to bring a specific Scarfer that outspeeds it, because of Kartana's very weak special defense. Very easy for it to be a Scarfer with HP Fire. Straight away Kartana's knocked out, so I feel like it's a waste of me running the Z move there. Whereas with Zygarde, it can just punch through that wall and then go ahead, whereas like Kartana has the attack stat already, where it doesn't really need the Z move. Like, I can just run Band and have almost 700 attack and just run through things. I don't really need the Z move there to achieve that, whereas with Zygarde, having the Z Dragon move is really good. Again, like people saying, you know, you can't really get through those bulky grass types with Zygarde. I would like to see a lot of these grass types take a +1 Zygarde's Devastating Drake if it's an Outrage. I'd like to see them do that. I'd also like to see the Fairy types take, you know, the +1 Zygarde Z Iron Tails. It's one of those things where Zygarde is, a lot of the time, one of my premier wall breakers on my team, and so I feel it needs the Z move there, because unlike Kartana, it doesn't have the incredible attack stat straight away to justify it. It has 81 less attack, and so having the Z move puts it on that level level playing field of breaking through a lot of my opponent's teams, and so for that is kind of why I wanted Z-Zygarde. I know that Kartana, Bulu, Nihilego, any of those could have been great choices, but for me, I felt, that Zygarde itself just needed that little bit of an extra boost just to break through a few things on my opponent's team that I felt just could have been a bit niggling, a little bit annoying, and this season I think you will see that Z-Zygarde puts in a lot of work. And there's actually a couple of cheeky Z moves as well, because status Z moves are allowed, so then you may see a few cheeky Z moves that Zygarde uses down the line that will be really handy as well. But you know what, guys? The time for talking is done. You see the team before you that the Tampa Bay Frogadiers are going to take with them into the NPL season for Season 7 we are in now. I never expected to be in this situation. I'm truly humbled to be in this situation, and our Week 1 match that was announced is up against Top Tier Boy and the Florida Persians, which is a nightmare, because Top Tier Boy and I, we're good mates, and I mean, he's just one of the better battlers in this league, and so having him is both a shock and a delight, because I know it's going to be a very, very big challenge for me, but at the same time, I think that, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm keen to get this season started on the right foot, and I just want, the Tampa Bay Frogadiers to leave an impact. Even if I'm only here for one season and get relegated, I just want to leave a good impact on this league and just see where we can take this, because honestly, guys, I never even expected to get here, so now that I am here, I'm going to make as much of the chance as I can. So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I recently hit 200 subs, so thank you guys so much for that. I really do appreciate, and comment down below, tell me what you think of the team. Obviously, it's maybe a bit different to what you'd expect me to draft, but the main thing that I wanted to focus on was the fact that there are not a lot of teams, especially of the ones that were drafted, that have a lot for the combination of Zygarde, Tapu Bulu, Mega Pinsir, and Kartana. Just those four alone. If you just take those four as an offensive core, then look at the defensive capability of Arcanine, Tentacruel, Rotom, Umbreon, things like that, as well as like the potential for webs with Smeargle, other stuff, like just some crazy shit. It's just the best part about this team, and what made this team, and I think my minus team in the past, so potent is just an absolute clusterfuck. But it's also so hard for my opponents to be able to prep for everything. So I'm super excited to use it this season. But let me know in the comments if you think maybe I could have taken some stuff different. Like I said, the plan, if I can get it to work, will be dropping Claydol and Tentacruel for Starmie. If it happens, cool. If it doesn't, oh well. Maybe Tentacruel and Claydol will put in work regardless. We will see. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this. My name is Averd. I am the coach of the Tampa Bay Frogadiers, and we are here to take the NPL by storm. I'm out of this bitch.